So one of the things I've been thinking about quite a bit lately is, software development in itself has changed a lot. We're not on prem anymore. Primarily, people are going to the cloud. You've got, just AIML is prevalent in almost every piece of the development stack that you go and look at. You can find a company that's advertising AIML as part of it. But IDEs, in many ways, they've stayed the same. You've got an editor, you've got a terminal, you've got a file tree, and then on the right hand side you've got some debugging and other things. And what are your thoughts? What's the next thing for IDEs? Are they going to go through a major shift, or do you think that it's going to kind of stay the same for a while?
I think the core experience you get through IDEs is going to be quite static. I think you're always going to be writing code in an editor that's going to be helping you out, and you're always going to want to be able to see your files and actually sort of undertake, as you say, sort of like your debugging and your other sort of things that you get out of IDEs today. I think where we're going to see changes is as sort of products become more complex. I think the way that you develop them and debug them needs to become more complex in lockstep with that. So I think we're going to see much more sort of focused niche areas, which are much more visual around targeting where your application runs on a bit of hardware or in the cloud or throughout the whole stack, as well as considering things like security boundaries. So I still think there's going to be lots of like niche tools, but I don't see a lot of change around the core experience you get from an editor today necessarily.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that, as IDEs become more cloud-based, do you see post-commit activities, things like CI/CD, shifting left towards the developer and kind of coming into the IDE more than they have before?
That's interesting, and I think it's based on the sort of products that are being developed. They may be quite simplistic or more simple or sort of easier products where getting everything to be a pre-commit hook or running locally, so you find out as soon as possible if you've got any issues, is absolutely a way that things are going to go. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the right solution for everyone. In our case, for example, at ARM, when we write applications for hardware, we may need to run that on multiple devices to ensure that hardware or that the software still works on all these devices, and it's not practical to have lots of local devices necessarily connected to your development machine. So there's still going to be a need for post-commit hooks and things running in the cloud. So I think it's going to be based on the setup you have, and I think there might be a shift in the way that sort of pre or post hook sort of events happen. And you can imagine a situation where maybe there's some sort of AI logic that decides based on who you are and what you're working on where it runs these hooks. I think it's more important to find out as soon as possible if any of your changes have actually made any sort of regressions in your code. So I think it's less about where it runs, more about how quickly you find out what problems you might have caused, or the fact that you might have actually completed the feature. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to see what happens, but it might follow the same sort of sort of like evolvement you've seen with web development, where different products decide whether you're rendering on the server or on the client. You may see something like that with development, which may decide to run things locally or remotely, just using AI.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's one of the big selling points for Thea is really that flexibility. You can turn it into what you need, which is extremely appealing for developers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gives you that base to, as I say, to create these niche tools that developers are going to need, or potentially set up environments which allow you to run your hooks locally, or tie into remote services that are doing this for you.